There's some things that kind of fly under the radar that are signals, hidden signals that you may not be paying attention to when it comes to your business operations. We want to share some learnings with you. We want to share some stories, some cautionary things that even large corporations fail to see when it comes to some of these hidden signals. When I sit down with our financial people, they over and over again tell me the same thing, that the cost of goods or inventory, for us, one of the largest expenses on the books. For companies that are buying inventory, holding it, and selling it, this can become a drain on the operation if the signals that are out there are not connected, or those signals are being ignored, or those signals exist or that data exists and they're all in separate compartments.
One of the things that I really love about working with Global Teck is our size and ability to communicate internally, so that when we start seeing different signals, we can talk to the different departments so that we can connect these dots, so that we don't get lost in this world of, like you say, having gold bars on the shelf that aren't moving. There's a lot of money that gets tied up with the inventory.
In today's ultra competitive environment, if you don't have visibility in real time to what's happening,
you're listening to.
Welcome to What the Tech, your gateway to business strategies and tech secrets shaping today's workplace. Hey, thanks for joining us today. It's Rolando right here at this desk.
At that desk is Rolando. Over at this desk, we got Dave coming in from southern New Hampshire.
Hey.
We're coming at the tail end of summer, man.
Oh yeah. You know, it's awesome when we get into fall, because around here you hear that drain the swamp message. It's quite literal, because it gets this whole area, DC, is most of it's built over swamp. And in August, it feels like the swamp kind of fog and the humidity is
boiling
just
over.
Unbearable, right? So there's a literal reason why, probably outside the political reasons, why that is in use, because it feels that way. And we're finally just getting a little taste of fall. The leaves are coming down. So I'm so ready for fall. I love it. Football season and a whole bunch of other things. Some of my favorite TV shows, actually, they may not even come on. Who knows? Writer's strike going on.
That's right.
You know, I saw something, by the way, the other day, just yesterday, where it was all like the late night hosts, Seth Meyers and Kimmel and Colbert and a whole bunch of these. They were all on one podcast, which is actually like the mega stars of late night, which is kind of funny. They were all kind of goofing and saying a bunch of things, but I'd actually watch that. You know, these guys do something regular like that, like once a month or once a week. I don't know, but interesting.
Yeah, I think a lot of the podcasts. So some of the people that I follow and listen to, yeah, they can't say everything that they want to, right? They're not allowed to talk about a lot of the stuff that's happening just because of the strikes that's going on.
Right. No. So hopefully this gets resolved, and the writers and the organizations, the corporations agree to something that's workable. You know, with this whole AI, I believe that it can help make the production process. I know we use it internally, Eddie, as well as some other tools, or ChatGPT.
Yep.
And I think that once you have the legal ramifications well in place, whether it's protection of digital images, protection of your own likeness, and all of that can be laid out, I think that roadmap for moving forward will be much clearer. There'll be a lot less ambiguity. Right now, we're in the gray zone with AI and how it relates legally to can you trademark things that are built on AI? And I saw something that in India they used AI for justification of information that they had used to essentially build a business, and the court in India struck that down. That they said that they could not use information from AI to justify the basis of what they were doing. So it's really going to be very interesting to see how our courts kind of interpret AI, its usage, and apply it to the law, because we're in totally uncharted territory.
AI can do a lot of different things as a language model. As you and I have kind of used it, we've had some fun with it, but I'm telling you, I am learning more and more about other people, just about our clients and prospects, by taking some of the information that we know about different people and sales scenarios and bringing it into Chat GPT.
Oh, yeah.
And
It's a very good sentiment
do a lot.
analysis, right? Using emails, using posts that a person has made for it to gather some really interesting clues on mindset. And I think that using it in such a way gives you a leg up on really understanding the other side, especially if you have no idea what you're going to get at a meeting or where you're going to walk into a negotiation. Being prepared and having some of that ahead of time so that you know this is where things could go south, as well as these could be hot button issues that can help. It's like, for us, it's a game changer, really.
Yeah, I think salespeople should really start to embrace it, not really so much in a way to, how do I write an email that's going to, it's not. I know a lot of people use this for writing emails and posts and things like that, but analyzing sales scenarios is, a real interesting way to use the AI. You know what? As long as the AI doesn't start making phone calls and replacing all these BDRs and, doing the phone sales and the B2B phone sales.
It's almost there, Dave. I saw something where somebody put something out on LinkedIn. I can't recall who it was, but it sounded very conversational. It was as if somebody called in and, hey, Johnny, why did you not want to buy that blue car? What was the reason behind that? And Johnny talked, and then he's like, well, could we have done something better in our, and I was like, whoa, this is getting interesting now that you can have like a back and forth kind of conversation in real time. Crazy. It's something to pay attention to.
Yeah, I would say, listen, if I got a call in the middle of the night from AI, I take that back. AI is not calling me in the middle of the night. You want to know why, Rolando?
Why?
Because unlike so many salespeople that are using their personal cell phone number for business, I don't do that. And I think people need to stop doing that. Don't take sales calls. Don't use your personal cell phone and for your clients and your in your business. You can do better than that. You can do better than that. And that's why I wanted to tell you about Zoom Phone.
All right.
So listen, a lot of people know what Zoom is, right? Zoom video conferencing. During the pandemic, it was probably one of the number one free downloads that are out there for your video meetings. But Zoom, actually, they have a phone solution. So they have it's called Zoom Phone. And what Zoom Phone allows you to do is use your personal cell phone, but don't expose your personal cell phone number, because with Zoom Phone, you can have an application on your computer, on your mobile device. You can control the hours for it, so you can kind of control the availability that you have. So you can take back your night, you can sleep better, you can be more productive with Zoom Phone, because you're not staying up thinking about that client that just woke you up at 1 o'clock in the morning. You were able to kind of take care of it. So what's great is Zoom Phone. You can rest more easily. You can be more efficient during your workday. And also with Zoom and Global Teck Worldwide, we are a Zoom Phone partner. Setting it up is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Check us out at tech.global-zoom. Actually, check them out at tech.global/zoom. to get started today. See how I kind of tried to sneak that in there? With a little more practice, it'll come across more naturally.
It'll roll off the tongue. It'll roll off the tongue. But you know what, Dave? I want to try something. I know that things don't always roll off the tongue, but I think you get an A for effort, right, Little John?
Yeah!
That's right. I can't wait to use all the buttons on this new soundboard. Little John is just he's the beginning of that. Come on, Little John. Give me a what? Oh, no, wait. Do we have a what?
What?
Yeah. So, Dave, you were saying, we were talking about AI And you know what? This is actually, we want to let you know that we're continuing a series that we call Operational Excellence. There's some things that kind of fly under the radar that are signals, hidden signals that you may not be paying attention to when it comes to your business operations. And we want to share some learnings with you. We want to share some stories, some cautionary things that even large corporations fail to see when it comes to some of these hidden signals. So, Dave, I think what we want to do is jump into one of a well-recognized company that was around in the 80s and 90s, 2000s, and the tens. Do we say 2010s? Is it tens or the teens?
I think about that every day. I'm not exactly sure. I'm not exactly sure what we call that.
Right late into its 20 teens, that was a household name. So this particular company had almost 500 stores, retail stores, nationwide and in several other countries. But that is not a guarantee for success when you miss some hidden signals that we're going to get into today. Ori, hit that video so we could show the audience. And if you're following along, well, there we go. We got it. So it's the Sports Authority. That's what we're going to talk today about. And we're going to pull back the curtain a little bit on Sports Authority, as well as talk about some of the things that happen in an operation, whether you're an online business, whether you're a retail business, that can help you navigate some of these hidden signals. Dave, I would say, Ori, let's show folks the little clip on what happened to Sports Authority here.
The clock has run out for Sports Authority. The sporting goods retailer plans to begin going out of business sales as soon as this Friday and will close all 463 stores by the end of August. Sports Authority had filed for bankruptcy protection less than 3 months ago, but it wasn't able to restructure its debt. Sporting good retailers are being hurt by online competition.
They blame online competition.
Yeah,
Listen, man, I've been into a every time I went into Sports Authority, they didn't have my size. They didn't have my style.
Ooh.
They didn't have
you're talking
people
my
there.
language.
They didn't have like experts
if I were
there
to
to help
translate that,
me.
Dave, they didn't have the right inventory for you, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a pair of sneakers, right? Like I can't find an extra large shirt. I can't find a size 13 sneaker, or if I could, they were just some god awful style that isn't something for me. But yeah, big store. That was a household brand. I'm thinking about where I am up here in the Northeast.
Mm-hmm.
Just in probably a 15 to 20 mile radius, I can think of at least 4 Sports Authorities that are obviously all crashed and burned. It was unfortunate.
Right. And so for those folks that are unfamiliar with Sports Authority, let me just give you a few highlights. So Sports Authority was founded in 1987 in Fort Lauderdale. They in the 90s, early 90s, they were a subsidiary of a parent company called Kmart. And as time went on, they merged Gart Sports, Oshman's, and rolled those into one company that was called the Sports Authority. And as they grew, they then went on to become public. And then something started happening, and where things did not go the way as planned. They became a private. They went back from a public organization. They were private equity came in. They became a private organization, and only 10 years later, after that private equity deal in 2016, they filed for bankruptcy. And later on, Dick's Sporting Goods went on to buy the trademarks for Sports Authority. So the Sports Authority as a physical retail store no longer exists, as you saw on that clip. And several factors were contributing to its ultimate bankruptcy, not just online. Online is only one piece of the equation, and we're going to get into some of the other problems that Sports Authority have and what it means for an operation. whether you have 500 stores, one store, or you're online. That is kind of common in from our previous episode of operational excellence.
I've never worked in retail. I've never managed retail business. But I would suspect that there's a lot of similarities between retail and e-commerce, right? We have physical products. You need to have inventory in order to sell it. You have to be competitive. You have to market yourself. I'll tell you, they did a great job marketing themselves. As I'm looking at this, I'm kind of having these flashbacks. The Ori was showing some of the B side,
B-roll.
the B-roll. Thank you. So within the B-roll, I'm looking at some of these malls. It's Holyoke Mall in Massachusetts, Warwick Mall in Rhode Island. It's like, yeah, those are stores that I had all been to, and it's sad. But if you have consumers like myself that go in, money to spend, and they don't have anything to sell me, or what they do have is completely overpriced, and I can walk literally next door to Foot Locker and get the same thing, that's crushing to an organization.
And from the information that we've had, it says here that the lack of inventory control, which is what you're talking about, not able to get the size. And imagine you're just one person. Imagine if every day one person walked into their own nearly 500 stores and had the same problem. So you'd virtually have 500 people that were having a problem and they walked out, right? If we were to translate that into the online world, we could say maybe something like the bounce rate or the click-through rate, right? People coming in and then leaving, or people actually engaging and not buying or not adding to cart. All of these are signals, right? We're going to use the word signals today to mean different actions that occur, and those things can be measured. And those things that can be measured that are signals act as data points that can then be filtered back into some software, right? Let's just say a software or softwares that can be extracted for information and actionable intelligence. So that's kind of what we're going to focus on. And, Dave, this source goes on to say the lack of inventory control had a cascading effect, impacting their profitability. That's the Sports Authority, and making it harder for them to compete with rising online retail giants, right? And other more efficient sporting goods stores. I would presume like Dick's, because they're the ones that Dick's Sporting Goods, which is kind of they're still around, right? And Sports Authority is not. And when I think about our own business, and for the last 21 years that we've been selling products, when I sit down with our financial people, they over and over again tell me the same thing, that the cost of goods or inventory is for us one of the largest expenses on the books. And so for companies that are buying inventory, holding it and selling it, this can become a drain on the operation if the signals that are out there are not connected, or those signals are being ignored, or those signals exist or that data exists and they are all in separate compartments. And we got a couple of stories on what happens when these signals are not connected or completely ignored.
We were talking earlier, Rolando, about the small to medium businesses out there. And you had said that there's way more small to medium businesses than large, giant conglomerates like a Sports Authority, right? And I think this is where, I've worked for a lot of larger organizations in my time. And I think what they would kind of say is, it's hard to turn the ship around. The internal communication from A to Z, there's so much in between that once you get to Z, that the ship is still going this direction. It's hard. It's hard to correct your mistakes, or I should say, it's hard to connect the dots sometimes with large organizations. There's so many levels to it. One of the things that I really love about working with Global Teck is our size an ability to communicate internally so that when we start seeing different signals, we can talk to the different departments so that we can connect these dots so that we don't get lost in this world of, like you say, having gold bars on the shelf that aren't moving. There's a lot of money that gets tied up with the inventory piece.
No doubt. Absolutely. And so that's important. And one of the things that we value here, and I know that others are starting to see as well, is that customer data, and there's a lot around customer data that we have over the years really focused in on that I think would serve other folks that are listening to us, that can be valuable pieces of information. For example, did you know that when you have a customer return, that can be a signal for bigger problems? And a lot of times, especially as the organization gets larger and you're beyond one person or two people or 5, 10, 50, 100, 500, that information about a complaint never makes it to the sales team. And there may be several layers that disconnect these two organizations. That's also the logistics team completely disconnected from that information. That's completely disconnected from management that's making this decision, as well as being disconnected from purchasing. A single customer complaint that can be shared among the organization can save thousands, if not tens of thousands. And if you're a much larger organization like a sporting goods retailer like the Sports Authority was, potentially millions of dollars. To give you an example, years ago, we were selling a product that one of the companies we work with, a very large multinational, started rolling out. And rolling out a product takes months. It's not something where you flip on a switch and all the products are online and then their inventory. A lot of planning goes into this. And so does it as well for the manufacturer.
Of course.
So once all of the agency that worked with them did all the photo shoots, did put all the images together for all the channel partners like ourselves, and we reused those images, it turned out that once we had the product staged and ready to go at Amazon, so that it showed up with the Prime logo, something wrong was with the images. Something broke down in the communication from the people at engineering, the people in sales, the people in marketing, and the agency that produced those images, because the image portrayed a product that could sit on a conference room, inside a conference room with no wires connected. Any person seeing those images would assume that that product was either wireless or rechargeable, meaning you didn't have to plug it into anything. Turned out we started getting complaints. Hey, Dave, what the hell are you selling me?
Well, hey, that's great. Listen, Rolando, we want complaints, right?
Hey, what are you selling me with that product, right, Dave? Remember that? What's going on? I see a wireless, a battery type powered product, no cables. This must be a wireless product that's rechargeable. And it turned out that the product sitting on the table, Dave, had no batteries internal. It wasn't rechargeable. You had to have it plugged in 24/7 for it to work.
Yep.
Somehow that small detail slipped through all those channels, every single one. And because one complaint from one customer that we got led to changes in the entire thing. So, and we were that one complaint, and this is where a signal comes in and to be important. When people complain, it's not always everybody that's going to complain. You proportionally may have one complaint for every 50 to 100 people that experience this problem, because some people just straight up return. Right? They're going to send it back to Amazon, no questions asked by Amazon, and that's the end of it. You don't see, they may never leave a review, whether it's a negative one. They may never post any feedback. They may not put anything on social media. They may not even call you. They may not send an email or chat. So 6 different ways that you could get that information. Not one. Doesn't appear anywhere until one person says, Dave, you guys are bums. What are you selling us? Right?
Right. And then so we go back and we review it, and within the listing itself, I think we had the description spot on, right? We put a lot of effort into our descriptions. Put a lot of effort into our imagery. Now, this was at a time where we were relying more on the brands and their marketing teams to use their images because they want their partners to use their images. So we
because
did
they've
our
spent
writing.
a boatload of money
Yeah.
at these agencies and photographers doing these professional photo shoots. So that's what they want representing the brand.
Right. So we did everything that we could to describe the product and the capabilities and how it worked. But, you know, kind of like you're saying, a lot of people, some people, they may look at the pictures. That's what's shiny. That's what, you know, is grabbing your attention. And sometimes you scan through some of the listing itself, but it's the images that it's like, all right, great, nice wireless speakerphone sits on the thing. This is going to fit our needs. It's great. It's also a very high dollar item.
Yes.
Very high dollar item.
Yes, that's right. Several $100s, almost $700.
So we get a customer complaint. So Signal, right? They call into our customer support team, and someone on that team reaches out to me and asks me for just kind of a better understanding of the product. And as I kind of review everything, I'm trying to not get frustrated with the buyer because the buyer's doing us a favor here. The buyer could have easily triggered a returned the product. We'd see it pop up in a report later, but we may not fully understand what the issue is so that we could make some changes. It turned out that we did have a handful of people that didn't complain and did return the products. The complaint triggered us to do a little digging to see how many times this product was returned and why. And we then worked with our catalog team to fix the image. Actually, what did we do? I think we actually pulled.
We pulled those images. We modified them ourselves. We went and took our own images and posted those in our listings because it then reflected that, you know, there was a cable that needed to be connected. And anytime you put a cable into an image rather than just leaving a device by itself, then the brain thinks, oh, this needs this cable, this cable. So we represented the image as accurate as possible.
Yep.
So that the buyer had it in their mind. Okay, somehow there's some cable that I need to use with this product. And so one of the things that I remember was we went down to our reverse logistics folks, and we actually inspected the returns on this particular product. And we're talking about it just before we came on air. And we had, oh my goodness, Dave, we had a bunch of these stacked up at the returns facility, and I could not believe what I was seeing.
And they were not $40 items. They were $600
$40 items at all. And luckily for us, the story of that problem started to go away once the inventory that we had at Amazon was changed, and we changed the images, and so, but we were able to change that situation. Had we not, all from the complaint, and then we saw another review that mentioned something about, you know, inaccurate. This is not a very accurate. It's not depicting, and I'm like, what? No, this is too. So something is not right. And this company that we buy from, this electronics multinational, their salespeople were not aware of this issue, which wasn't an issue in itself. It was that they were unaware that the marketing images, Dave, did not properly depict the product, causing customer frustration, causing customer complaints. Engineers over there at this company knew exactly what the product was designed for, had all the specs, had all the information, but somehow everybody in the organization thought what we thought, which is it's wireless and it's rechargeable and you don't need to plug in anything. Oh, wait a minute. We got that wrong. And it escaped everybody. That's the surprising part, until this little complaint And what's even funnier about that is that initially when we reported this to the manufacturer, they gave us some pushback.
Yeah,
because their marketing teams didn't want anything cluttering up their beautiful, wonderful, expensive photography that they paid for.
You know, when partners visit and they take you to lunch and they show off the new products and all that stuff, that's fine. You know, okay, I got a salesperson, I got a marketing person here. You know what? We started wanting to include the engineer. Bring your head engineer. Bring an engineer with you. Oh no, that's not. You know, they don't come out for client visits. Why do you want to meet with an engineer? And I didn't say this to their face, but engineers won't lie to your face. Engineers, they want to really dig into the technology. What makes it good? What makes it susceptible to interference? Whatever it might be. After that whole experience, I started finding so much more value in hanging out and speaking with, you know, the engineers at some of these organizations. I think that's where you get your real information, is from the people that were part of the R&D process, part of the alpha and the beta testing and, you know, whatnot. Those are the folks. Hey, there's a pro tip for you.
Yeah.
Stop. Oh, you want to throw it up there?
Go ahead.
Here comes a pro tip.
Pro tip numero uno.
Yes.
Invite the engineering staff. Invite an engineer to come. My wife always makes fun of how I say that. Invite an engineer out to lunch. You can pass on the sales and marketing people. They're the pretty and handsome folks. They can come too. Direct your attention to the engineer. He won't lie to your face. I hope that's not too rash, but I think many people can kind of relate to that.
No, exactly. Exactly. And I think for us it's been very helpful, especially with products that are electronics. There's a lot that can go wrong and can be missed. And we learn a lot. Isn't that right, little John?
Yeah!
Ha ha. All right. I'm just having a little too much fun with this soundboard. So
Rolando, this actually reminds me of another story that we had with a
go
brand.
for it.
It was a very popular product. You know, one of the things that I love about the industry that we're in is the product life cycle, because these are commercial goods, not necessarily for that consumer, even though a lot of consumers still use, you know, some headsets and speakerphones. But the commercial products, the lifespan on these is much longer, you know. So I think about one of our best-selling products. We were selling it for 6, 7, 8 years on Amazon. We could troubleshoot this product in our sleep. We knew every component that was in the box, of like every piece, every component, we could tell you. And one day we had, and again, we have our listings, we're selling a couple of hundred of these a week. We had a customer come in and they said they didn't receive one of the pieces. And it wasn't it wasn't a vital piece, but it was a piece that we had some imagery around. It was a component that allowed you to take a headset and wear it behind your neck. A lot of these headsets, they call them convertible. So it's one headset. There's multiple wearing styles in the box. So you can buy 10 of them for your staff. And regardless of what the staff needs, they can all snap on the wearing style that they want.
So an accessory that was in the box that somehow disappeared, right?
And then the complaint comes in and they said, hey, this piece isn't in the box. I'm like, okay, interesting. Maybe it was just an issue during the production of it.
Which is rare. That's probable. That could happen.
Could. We took care of the customer. You know, we overnighted them the piece that they needed. And then we communicated quickly with our warehouse. And we had them pull a few and do a sample test, just to open them up, see if this component was in the box. And they came and they reported back with the images, and this piece was not in the box any longer. And you know, this is one of our top selling products. what happens now?
Yeah, because the accessory should have been in the box, right? So
That's
either
right.
you think this is a batch that is a fluke, that they had a production run, and we happen to catch a batch where I would imagine thousands in this case that
Yeah.
came out without this accessory that was there previously.
And we
Right.
thought it was a fluke. So, if we had a couple of boxes, if we had 4 cases, we pulled one piece from each case, we open it up, that piece isn't in there. It could have been because of a run or because of a change with the manufacturer. We really
That's
weren't
correct.
sure. So, we had a good relationship with them. We contacted the manufacturer, and they didn't know. So you work
Surprising.
we work with salespeople. Should have got an engineer on the phone. Work with salespeople. Work with marketing people. They're like, no, that should be included. Be included. And then we had some additional complaints and product returns. So we were seeing kind of a heavier return on that one SKU. We escalated it with the manufacturer. They had to then escalate it to their global headquarters. And after a few weeks, they came back and learned a couple of things. Corporate took this part out to save a few dollars, which is good. They don't. Most manufacturers don't even include the wall chargers anymore.
No, those are gone now.
And that makes me happy. That's a little less plastic that's being created to be dumped in an ocean somewhere. This particular headband, they came back and they said, you know what, Global Tech, you're right. We no longer include this in that product SKU.
Right.
And the thing that really irked me was we have a lot of competition in this space. So we brought this to light. We communicated it up to the manufacturer. And the manufacturer was then able to analyze it. And then they sent out an announcement to all of the channel partners about their change.
Mm-hmm.
Particular SKU, and that kind of goes to my frustration with doing homework for other people. I don't like doing homework for other people. I want to do business with people. I don't want to do homework for you so that you can go back and tell all of our competitors, the change, so that they don't make those mistakes. So here we are. We're jumping on landmines so that the entire North American market for this particular SKU can now fix their own issues with it. But hey,
you know what, Dave? This imagine this. We bring this to them, but a lot of times this could fly under the radar, and it would have for a longer period of time, because like this, to our own horn, we are very proactive in the products that we sell. We do a lot of deep dives. We take products apart ourselves, and we are able to connect those dots. But it is shocking in this example that it took weeks to get that response. That's the first thing. And that so many different departments, again, were not able to disseminate information. So all the relevant parties, all the stakeholders, the channel partners like ourselves, marketing teams, a sales team, which is usually who we interact as a partner with a lot of these larger organizations. They have a sales manager that we're the ones doing the day-to-day. They were completely unaware of this change. There was no internal documentation that provided this information. And because of that lack of communication or being able to collect that information and disseminate it properly, you have this cascading effect. And if we were to just kind of transition a little bit to the Sports Authority example, imagine what that ramification means to organizations that have a ton of retail stores or that have an Amazon presence and have a lot of merchandise at Amazon warehouses. You can go for weeks, if not months, only to discover much later, wow, we've got way too much returns on this product. Our normal return should be 5%, but it's 25% on this product. And because one bit of data exists out there and is not connected, it's a signal about, like, let's say returns, that's higher than normal. the complaint or complaints from the customer, the interactions on the phone, because one of the things that we do internally is we are able to do recording for quality control. Like most folks that are running an organization with customer support, you record the calls to, be able to better assist agents and customers as well. We're able to go back and review those calls and, hey, wait, Dave, in the month of July, we saw a spike here. What's going on? And, we look into it and you have a way. But if you don't have a way to find those data points or those signals and then collect those pieces of information and then be able to share it, like we do with our customer support team, sales team, logistics, purchasing, management, everybody has a stake in it, so that, wow, that isolated incident, which looks like an isolated incident, doesn't become the Titanic that brings down the whole ship, or is the beginning of an iceberg that punches a hole in the side of the ship that then eventually brings down the ship.
It's an interesting analogy, because I was thinking about the nets that we have cast out, or the lines that we have cast out to catch any of these signals that are coming in. I think about what we do for our clients, right? So first and foremost, we support everything that we sell. It helps to alleviate customer returns. It helps to build confidence with our clients. And we want to help customers get set up. Sometimes the technology can be daunting for some users. It could be basic for some and not basic for others. We want to, I like how you say this, remove some of the friction points. But what I'm trying to say is, if you were to go to any of our stores out there, we're highlighting our phone number, we're highlighting our live support, we're highlighting our live chat. We welcome phone calls. We have people that will actually answer phone calls that work for the organization.
We want to talk to people.
Could you imagine if we just hired a call center to kind of support our stuff? I don't know if any of these signals would have even been noticed.
And that's exactly in today's world as well. It's very common. I would imagine in the 90s and early 2000s, the offshoring of call centers, that was still happening. But today it's very common, especially with the way technology, where we are today. It's so easy to easily stand up a call center from a technology perspective and have 100 people answering the phones, answering email complaints, looking through social media. They have the data. They may funnel up a percentage of that, but every signal is a data point. And you don't know. That's the thing. You don't know if something is an isolated incident or a one-off, and that will never happen, or a representation of a bigger thing. Again, what we've noticed in the years is that one complaint usually is a representation of a possibility of 50 to 100 more complaints from orders or customers that are out there. So if you're getting 1, 2, 3, let's say you get 10, that's the possibility that a 1,000 customers with 10 complaints that are all similar with some variation, all have roots in some reality, and that is representation of maybe 1,000 other customers. Now, imagine what you have if you have 100 complaints that are maybe the reporting of it. Some of it comes through email form, some of it comes from phone calls, some of it comes from reviews, but you have no way of connecting these dots, right? And Dave, not just connecting the dots, but because this is all in the customer support center or the customer service team, it doesn't have a way to really funnel back to sales, funnel back to logistics, funnel back to purchasing, funnel back even if you're really like a product manager that's in charge of that. And if it does, sometimes that little slow trickle will start up, but you have to have this in real time. In today's ultra competitive environment, If you don't have visibility in real time to what's happening, you could lose big, a big mistake, and even not even your fault. I mean, I think about, we've had products that we've ordered, and we have the specifications. This is how the packaging should look. This is how the product should look. This is what should be in there. All of it arrives at the warehouse. Warehouse ships it to Amazon. Amazon ships it to customer. Customer says, "You bums, what are you doing? I got the wrong product." And we're scratching our heads like, "What are you talking about?" Everything checks out. Go back to the warehouse, right? We send a message to the warehouse team. Warehouse team sends back some images. They take out the product. Oh, we got a problem.
Mm-hmm.
We got 4,000 of these that have the wrong label on them from the manufacturer. Oops.
And it's a problem. And it's a problem that can't go ignored. That is a fire. That is a major fire that needs extinguishing
immediately.
Like all hands on deck.
Because your reputation is at stake. That is very difficult. If you're working on Amazon and you want to avoid those problems, what we learned from that very costly lesson is that we needed better checks and quality control in the process. Although, again, the manufacturer had the specs on what we needed exactly. They put the wrong label on the wrong product. Happens. And we put a process in place to avoid that happening in the future, because the cost of that in implementing that is significantly smaller than once you have thousands of these units at FBA or Amazon or in customers' hands, and then the gravy train of returns comes, the gravy train of one-star review comes, the gravy train of nasty emails and nasty social media, and all of that avoided by, do we have something in place to prevent that? It's like an insurance policy, Dave. I don't want to ever crash in my car, but if something happens, you have a way to protect yourself, your investment, your own body. There's insurance that protects, so you got bills, medical bills, get another car, all the rest. This is kind of like that. This is one of those things where, so if you're doing private label and you're buying products from China or Vietnam or India or anywhere else around the world, you absolutely want to make sure you have some kind of quality control that you or your team or a third party that is qualified to check for those products before it hits the boat. If you're buying from China, especially, you want to have somebody that checks those products before it hits the boat on its way to the US from China, because there are several reputable firms that will do this kind of work for you if you don't want to do it yourself or can't do it yourself at your own warehouse. And there's some not so savory, not so reputable organizations that do that we've found out that, that they're getting paid under the table to allow products to go right through, which is a bad thing to happen. So having a way to connect the dots, again, one complaint, two complaints. But imagine, Dave, you get one complaint on email, another one on a phone call, and maybe one bad review, 3 different data points. Mm-hmm. And it's very possible that you could have all 3 different things going to different people. And if it's not shared, collaborated, or communicated, hey guys, thought I'd, inside the system, we've got 3 things that have showed up on this product in the last 2 days. And it goes to all the different teams. Boom, action. Oh, wow, you're right. We got a problem. Action. Let's do something about it. Rather than they sat there for months and then another complaint. Coming through all those different points, right? They're all signals. And no way to connect them, no way to disseminate and collaborate that within the teams.
Rolando, we used to joke internally, but also externally with other Amazon sellers. When we would talk about returns, everyone would kind of be like, returns is the new, returns is the F word, you don't really want to talk about it.
No doubt, man.
But I'd be very interested. Listen, if you're an Amazon seller, leave a comment. Tell us a story or an example of something that relates to this. There was an issue with a product. You were able to stop it before the fire spread throughout the whole boat. What was the signal, and what was the action that you took to correct it? So if you're watching this, you're an Amazon seller, we'd love to see your comments down there in the section. Rolando, you had mentioned that you had heard kind of a similar story with an apparel seller, I believe.
Yeah. So I belong to a group of sellers that are on Amazon, MDS group. Shout out to folks over at MDS. And in that group was a new person that joined us, and she sold apparel. And she says, "What do I do about high returns with a particular product? I have 75% of the item being returned." I was like, when I saw, I was like, wow, you got a problem. And for the industry of apparel, 25, 30%, even a little higher than that is standard from what I understand. I'm not in apparel, but that's what I hear. It's much, much higher than our returns, but standard for the apparel industry. One of the things that ended up happening, she wanted to know, what do I do with all this returned merchandise? One, like we were saying earlier, those are gold bars. So they're just sitting there in storage. If the merchandise is good, there's a couple of things you could do about it. But at the end of the day, the signal that was coming back, that why is this being returned more? I'm sure at some point it, 5, 10, 20, 30%, 40%, 45. At some point, the signal of these returns, like ding, 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 there should have been a flashing red light. Wait a minute, this is much higher than our average return. Caught early enough, you could save yourself some pain, because you can take the listing and turn it off. And that's a much better thing to do than to leave the listing on, say we're going to put it out in the world. Because when things go into Amazon's warehouse, you have a lot less control than if you caught the problem earlier at your own warehouse, or even before it gets to your warehouse at the manufacturer, before it gets on the boat. But in her case, she didn't. So she had all of this returned inventory. And I said to her, look, turn off the listing. And here's what I would do with the returned merchandise, with the ones that don't have a problem. Because there were some that had garment issues. And so, because I'm not in the garment industry, I know that there's a couple of liquidation things, and you can mark it off as, not perfect or some kind of thing. But in the end, 75% of those items that were returned could have been avoided with a quality control system, catching it early. But let's just say there was another way. If you're able to see those signals, communicate it with the right team members. So, and a lot of folks that are on Amazon that are private sellers as well as brands, they may have an outsourced team that's handling this support. The support team that's handling these complaints, these emails, these 1-star reviews, have to have a way to funnel that information back to people in sales, back to people in purchasing, back to people in logistics, back to people in management that understand, hey, we've got more than a one-off here. We've got a lot more. In her case, it got up to 75% of the items. Ooh,
Yikes.
ouch. We need to look at this. If it's a manufacturing problem, that can be handled. But the more immediate problem we have, when we have a 75% rate of return, I should say return of items, not rate of return, but return of items, you're going to have a lot of angry customers. And on Amazon, angry customers can derail your efforts, especially at that kind of 5%. Amazon has all the numbers, first of all. They understand every category is different, and they know that there's a certain amount of that that's going to go back to their system. They're back into their ecosystem of return warehouses. But when you have something that's a very large signal to them, they may take action as drastic as suspension, or cutting off the listing, or prohibiting you from shipping in the future into their own warehouses so that you can't ship prime anymore. So being able to catch these signals early on, being able to communicate and collaborate with the rest of the team or team members that have a small stake in this and knowing that information is vital. And this happens, Dave, every single day to every single business, whether you're physical retail or you're online. And when those bits of data points kind of escape, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 5 months, 6 months, 9 months, you get to 75% of the items returned, or even worse. Other really things starts to snowball that can really ruin an operation. And I would imagine in the case of Sports Authority, it was so online contributed to their demise wasn't the only thing, but you get this snowball effect. Inventory, like you said, they didn't even have my shoe size. I walk in and I walk right out. Imagine that happening every day. And that signal is not being captured somewhere and being shared with people that, hey, in the footwear aisle, we need size 15 through 16 for these customers, right?
What's so cool about being on the online space, though, is we have an opportunity where we can catch some of that data, right?
That's right.
Like, I've never, like I said earlier, I've never been in retail. I wonder if retail has some sort of software that says 2,500 people came into my store today, and these, and a percentage of these people left without purchasing at all.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so we can see that, and that's cool. I'm pleased that that's our advantage, not being in retail. We know when people come in and leave without buying. So Sports Authority, seriously, every time I walked into that store, their marketing would pull me in when they were going out of business. When they were going out of business, there was only a couple of stores surviving. The one that's local to me, their marketing pulls me in because big banners going out of business, buy one, get one. They had the big BOGO.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I need sneakers. I just want to just go in. They probably don't have it. I go in, even if they had what I want, they're buy one, get one. It was not a buy one, get one free. It was a buy one, get one half off.
Not the same. Inaccurate, inaccurate, somewhat close to being deceptive, right?
And you can tell that the people in the store, when I kind of mention it, they just roll their eyes like, yeah, we know.
We got you, Dave.
Yeah, we're just clerks.
Wait.
Oh, no!
We got you.
So buy one, get one at 3/4 of the price. Only size 12 or less. If it, pink on.
You didn't have your glasses on to see the fine print.
But the people in the store didn't care, because they're so big and they're just clerks in a retail world. They're like, whatever, we're going out of business anyways. But I think it's some of that negligence that brought them to that going out of business world. Question for you. So with the apparel seller, did they mention anything with any signals? Like how long did it go before they finally realized?
Months.
Oh, no.
Months. It took months because I believe she had a production run. Anybody that is in the apparel business would know more intimately no matter what piece of garment you're making, you're not going to make 10 to 20 pieces.
No.
There's no factory that's going to agree to that on an ongoing basis. They want a production run, hundreds, if not thousands. And that's what they want in order to make your whatever garment. And so she had all of these thousands of pieces that came back. And it wasn't until it was pretty much not a lot. It was too late at that point. But imagine this, Dave. That is not an uncommon scenario that I just explained. And this is a smaller seller if we compare it to like a big, large chain. But this is happening today in retail. This is happening today on the online space. And it can be avoided. You can have a system in place that can disseminate information. You can have a system in place where multiple stakeholders have visibility into that information and then be able to take actionable intelligence. Just like with our electronics partner that we have worked with, these are also signals that are sleeper signals that can fly under the radar. I mean, they're there. And that's the beauty of online selling. Like you said, Dave, they're there. They're warehoused somewhere. And too often, even within the information, if we didn't forget the people part, forget the collaboration part, it is very common that on Amazon, especially, you have one piece of data that's sitting over here, another over here. You may have a third party piece of software grabbing information over here. And if you don't have a way to bring that all together, then it will be. You may have somebody in the same department, even in customer support, that sees, hey, I'm in charge of looking at returns. And then somebody else is in charge of customer feedback. Somebody else is in charge of returns that are coming back from Amazon's warehouse back to your facility, right? Somebody else that may be doing some of the front end selling. And they're grabbing their information also from Amazon, but from another piece of Amazon. And none of that's making it. None of that's being shared in a collaborative fashion so that, again, it's all about the ecosystem of information. And that ecosystem is what allows companies like Walmart, that they're known for the logistics. You almost have, I was thinking about this the other day, Dave. You have to, from an operational perspective, more than operational excellence, you have to be almost obsessed with operationally creating efficiencies that allow the organization to thrive. Because if you don't have that as part of your DNA, and operations, logistics, returns, inventory, it's kind of way down the list. It's part of the organization, but in terms of the culture of getting this to work as an ecosystem with the rest of the company, then you do yourself a disservice in the long run because things start piling up over time. And I heard Damon John say this as well. That's one of the reasons why he didn't invest in a particular company on Shark Tank. Because if you look at what he anticipated, he says in year one, you're going to have, $50,000 in returns. Year two, you're going to have 250. As you grow the organization and your sales go up, even if your returns stay proportional. So if you're at $1 million in sales, year one, 5% return, you're looking at $50,000. Year number two, you go up another 2 million. And so you start seeing, if you're not able to manage, capture, share, collaborate with that information, $50,000 becomes $100,000 in inventory that's sitting that needs to be managed and handled from returns perspective. And in some cases, it can balloon out of control in year 3, 4, 5. And eventually you have a set of products that are unsaleable, that are old, that are really defective because just kind of things just snowballed and weren't visible to all the stakeholders. So this is really critical. And the best part about this, Dave, is that every organization, whether you're a one-person shop or you're 1,000 people, you can exert way more control over physical goods that are either in your possession, in your warehouse, in transit to you, than once those products are out in the world, into the Amazon warehouses, or start living somewhere else in some other location. It's much easier to try to get a control of that than market trends. I can't control all the customers coming in and foot traffic. I can't control that people are going to go from physical to online. I can't control the preferences of the consumer.
You can't sell someone who's a size 13 a size 10. That's
right. But you know what? Data can help you manage that. How many? People that are in the apparel industry know that certain sizes sell more than others, right? Unless you're like a big and tall store where you're saying we are specifically specializing in size 10 plus, right? For the bigger guys, you got to have a whole bigger collection of those shoes. But there's a certain portion of population that's going to need above 10, right? I
Yep.
mean, I use size almost a 12. I know that there's places that are going to have those, right? And that's what happens. Now, guess what, Dave? You don't have it, but in today's space, and I'm sure that in the teens, as Amazon and other online retailers started specializing in apparel, footwear, and other places, home goods, electronics, I got you covered, Dave. And not only that, but you don't even have to leave your house or your mobile phone. You can see how many units we have in stock, and it's delivered in 2 days, 3 days, whatever the speed is, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so for them, part of moving forward in time and trying to catch up to what the customers started evolving to, plus the mix of inventory that didn't match the need of their customer base, again, over time, and then you got people returning stuff that don't like things, it'll start piling up, right?
It's important, I think, as an Amazon seller, don't act like these big monster brands that don't that make it difficult for their customers to get in touch with them. We make it super easy for our benefit and for the customer's benefit. Our phone number is front and center. Our email address is front and center. And I see more and more where that is not the case. You go to I'm not going to call out anybody, even though it would be fun to. But there's so many big brands that their phone numbers they're not even on the contact us page. You get to the contact
and
and
with the contact us page is 7 or 8 clicks deep.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, everyone for the sellers out there, you all know that as well. For Amazon Seller Central, those phone numbers don't come up until after you have clicked other 3 or 4 times, and you're just so deep into that seller support page. And I do find that phone numbers are the bottom right hand side at like font 6 or 7.
Yeah.
Not font. Yeah, I guess I said that right.
That's
The size of the font, the font size, excuse me, is small. They're trying to be invisible. I understand that, you know what, people may not have a group of customer service agents that are available to take telephone calls. That's another subject for another day. We can talk about that and explore it. But there needs to be an option for your customer to, again, like Rolando says, you want to remove that friction point. Give them a path to come and communicate with you. I know selling is way sexier than supporting, but you're not going to catch any of those signals. And we're just talking about some of the instances here where we caught a problem and we were able to rectify it. But I would say 3 or 4 times a month, we're getting signals that turn out to be in our favor, but we're at least having an opportunity to analyze it. So we'll get a signal from something that something might potentially be incorrect with the product, or potentially be incorrect with a listing or with the images. And because we're a team that prides ourselves on communicating, we're able to get all hands on ship. All right, do a quick investigation. We investigate it, and we can come back and say, "Hey, great news, guys. We don't have a problem here. But good job keeping your ear to the ground." Because, like Rolando says, you ignore these things. You know, you might have a small hole in your ship, but if you ignore it, you're going to take on so much water that you're going to have a hard time getting out of it.
Right. And I think in the marketing world, lead gen and attribution, that's kind of the problem here when we're talking about this back end systems, back end support, call centers. All of that is viewed as costs. And when your view of those things you can't attribute a value, like what did they save us money? What kind of problems did they save us? What kind of financial catastrophe was avoided because we were able to catch things in real time or near real time? If you don't have a way to attribute that, and wow, it was great that this piece of information was shared with logistics, and they were able to make sure that container didn't get on the boat. Or wow, we're glad we caught this at the warehouse, and instead of having a container full or a half a container full of goods hit Amazon's ecosystem in their warehouse, we saved ourselves a boatload of issues. Those are the types of things and events when you're connected, when you have dots connected, when you have collaboration, when you have a real-time or near real-time information that can be disseminated. All of those things could be attributed back to people in the back end office that are taking care of these things so that you can actually save a boatload of money, frustration, bad press, or bad publicity. And so there isn't a very clear linear way to it from an attribution, if we were to use an SEO term, an attribution model that says these guys over here saved us $100,000 because they've been able to catch it. And that's part of what happens. It's just, hey, we have 30 people over here in this call center in India, and it costs us X amount a year to operate it. I bet there's a lot of good nuggets in a lot of these call centers and call center operations that can A, improve a product, B, save a ton of money, C, improve efficiencies in the operation itself so that it's more resilient when you're looking at the long-term horizon. Is how do you get to 20 years? How do you get to 10 years in business? How do you go beyond that? Well, part of that is really being obsessed about processes, systems, dissemination of information, collaboration, back-end systems where all of that can be extracted and used with different stakeholders so that then you can take some actionable intelligence. Otherwise, these are sleeper signals like we talked about earlier. They just go under the radar.
Rolando, this was a really good episode. I think we should revisit this at another time and discuss how our software stack and advanced voice services platform integrate together so that these signals aren't going ignored.
Yeah, no doubt. I think that's a great idea. And if you've been listening to this episode and you're wondering, well, what else is out there? What else can I learn about becoming more efficient with the way we operate our business so that you can avoid some of these big mistakes that we talked about with these larger companies? You want to go check out that last episode that we did about operational excellence. And Dave and I will be in that video, and we'll join you then, and we'll see you next time.